Question is, how you keep not getting what you wanted out of your mind and still go out and play when that's something that you do?
Man, if you've been following me for a long time, I've always hit the rock bottom. It's always something up for me. But I mean, to be honest, I played to the best of my ability with my back's against the wall. I know the true meaning of professionalism, and when I'm in between the lines, nothing else matters.
The Phoenix Suns have found themselves in a lot of controversial situations over the past week or so, and I can't believe I'm about to say this, but the worst is yet to come according to this breaking news report that we just received. So smack that like button for the YouTube algorithm, consider subscribing and turning on our notifications to help the channel grow, and if you happen to think that I talk a little bit too much on this channel, well, you could catch a 1-minute version of this video on TikTok. Now that we get all that out of the way, cue the intro. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? Let me know in the comment section how my quality is sounding, guys. I'm currently on the road, and it wasn't necessarily my plan to make a video on this, but of course we got some breaking news in regards to the Phoenix Suns, and it all starts, and it could all be traced back to two individuals on the Phoenix Suns, and that's Deandre Ayton and Chris Paul. Now, if you guys remember, in regards to Deandre Ayton, this is a man that was the #1 overall pick in the 2018 NBA draft, and when everyone else in his fellow draft class was receiving contract extensions, not limited to his own teammate Mikal Bridges, and hell, even Landry Shamet that received a 4-year, $43 million contract extension, Deandre Ayton was not offered a maximum contract extension. Now, originally in my analysis with my limited information at the time on the topic, I thought this was because the Phoenix Suns felt like Deandre Ayton wasn't a modern NBA center, and that was my assumption. I mean, there was no other good reason not to pay Deandre Ayton, but when I found out on the Laced Up podcast the real reason why Deandre Ayton wasn't paid the max, and he doesn't take a lot of three-pointers either. So if this is something that he's willing to work on this year, yeah, I say pay the guy. But if not, I'm not saying don't pay him like at all. Just don't think he's worthy of the max.
So apparently DeAndre Ayton wanted a 5-year max from the Suns, and the Suns raised the concept of a 4-year or even 3-year max, but those talks of course didn't progress. So apparently the big discussion here is the 5-year versus the 4 or 3-year.
Yeah, that completely changes my take altogether. Yeah, that's just stupid. If you ask me, that's absolutely baffling.
So they just didn't do the 1 year.
That's insanity. Why? What? So wait, hold on. You're telling me like the billionaire Robert Sarver is like, who is notorious for this? He's known for being a huge cheapskate. Came out and said, "All right, Deandre, we'll give you the max, but not the 5-year. We're only going to give you 4 or 3." Like, I understand if he was like performing up until his expectations to a certain extent. Maybe if you wanted to challenge him, I guess I understood that. But I don't think DeAndre Ayton belongs in the conversation with players like Markelle Fultz and Anthony Bennett.
When we look at some players that have been getting the max, I'm just like, hell yeah, just give it to them. Like,
I was absolutely shocked. I never thought that this was an issue about paying the man the max for 4 years or 3 years even, as opposed to paying him for 5 years. And when I discovered that was the reason why DeAndre Ayton was not getting paid the max, at that point I felt like the Phoenix Suns ownership was way too incompetent to have a team that is this good and this competitive. And to be honest, it reminded me of another situation that we once had when a famously horrible, although I think they were more horrible than the Phoenix Suns were over the past decade, the Los Angeles Clippers got themselves an abundance of talent and finally were competitive. And this was towards the end of the Donald Sterling era. But afterwards, what happened was shortly after they acquired Chris Paul, voicemails came of Donald Sterling making racist remarks, and shortly after he was forced to sell the team.
Hello, bozo.
And according to Jordan Schultz of the Schultz Report, we got another very similar situation happening here, only with Phoenix Suns owner Robert Sarver. So the report goes like this: breaking, the NBA is preparing for a massive story accusing Suns owner Robert Sarver of racism, sexism, and sexual harassment in a series of incidents. Sources say, with enough evidence to support such claims, there's a real chance the league would forcibly remove Sarver. So that's pretty much what happened with Donald Sterling. Voice memos came out that pretty much proved that Donald Sterling is truly a horrific human being, and as a result, he was forced to sell the team. Now, this came very close after Robert Sarver decided not to extend Deandre Ayton. So there's some conspiracy theories going on the internet and on Twitter that suggest things like DeAndre Ayton's team being the main reason why Robert Sarver might be removed as the owner of the Phoenix Suns, or the fact that there might be a correlation that the Los Angeles Clippers traded for Chris Paul in the early 2010s. Chris Paul then signs a $107 million contract extension with the Los Angeles Clippers, and shortly after, Donald Sterling gets forced to sell the Los Angeles Clippers to Steve Ballmer, and then once again, Chris Paul gets traded to the Phoenix Suns, signs a 4-year $120 million contract extension with the Phoenix Suns, and then eventually might have some sort of hand in Robert Sarver selling the Phoenix Suns. But we don't even know the contents of the report yet. This is kind of like a warning that, hey, some crazy stuff is about to break out soon. Robert Sarver has a history of being one of the worst owners in the NBA. He's historically known for being extremely cheap, lowballing his best players, as we just saw happen with DeAndre Ayton, and it looks like there's going to be a deep dive done on him as a result of this. Now get this, we actually have an update on this entire situation where Robert Sarver, the owner of the Phoenix Suns, officially responded to the allegations against him. So this is according to Sierra Santos of Fox 10, and this is what it says. Statement from Suns Legacy Partners LLC, managing partner Robert Sarver. I am wholly shocked by some of the allegation purported by ESPN about me personally or about the Phoenix Suns and Mercury organizations. While I can't begin to know how to respond to some of the vague suggestions made by mostly anonymous voices, I can certainly tell you that some of the claims I find completely repugnant to my nature and to the character of the Suns and Mercury workplace, and I can tell you they never ever happened. First and foremost, I reject any insinuation of personal or organizational racism or gender discrimination. I despise language that disrespects any individuals regardless of race, gender, preference, or choice. Such language has no place in business or at home in what I consider Suns and Mercury families. I am proud of our record of diversity and inclusion on both teams, whether on the court or in the front office. I don't begin to know how to prove that something didn't happen, and it is difficult to erase or forget ugly accusations once they are made. Even hints of racism or sexism in our culture today are toxic and damaging and should not be lightly raised. I categorically deny any and all suggestions that I use disparaging language related to race or gender. I would like to think that my actions in public record regarding race, gender, or discrimination of any kind over a lifetime in business and community service will adequately answer any questions anyone might raise about my commitment to equality and fairness. I don't think Chris Paul really has a hand in this. Maybe Chris Paul looked at the situation and said, hey, what's going on with DeAndre Ayton is absolute BS. This is a man that clearly deserves the max, and maybe did some digging on Robert Sarver. Or maybe, just maybe, DeAndre Ayton's team decided to do some digging on Robert Sarver as well to release this information as revenge for the owner of the Phoenix Suns not paying the 2018 #1 overall pick, yet paying Mikal Bridges and paying Landry Shamet. So let me know in the comment section down below, guys, what do you think about all of this? I know Phoenix Suns fans are probably very excited about the fact that one of the worst owners in franchise history and league history might have to sell the team because some of the horrible and shady stuff that he's done in his past is finally coming out onto the surface. Aside for that, make sure you leave a like, subscribe, and turn on our notifications. I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.